The bread is black, not burned. It's made with blood. So here's the real question. Why did Northern Europe turn blood, salt, and fish into comfort food? And how did that survival logic still shape what Scandinavians eat today? If Vikings really loved blood bread, where did that idea come from? There are no Viking cookbooks. Before the 8th century, they barely left written records at all, so nothing directly proves a recipe. But archaeology hints at something else. In early Viking graves, scholars have found bread remains with blood-based components. That suggests dough made with fresh animal blood instead of water, baked at home and stored for winter. Not because it was shocking, because it lasted. You'd expect it to taste metallic. It probably didn't. Animal blood naturally contains salt, which can make bread more savory than plain grain bread. Visually intense, yes, flavor-wise, likely mild. And even if Viking blood bread itself stays partly uncertain, blood-based food never disappeared. Across the Nordic world, it survived openly and proudly. In Sweden, rye flour mixed with blood and light beer was dried into hard bread. Reindeer blood, eggs, flour, and beer became blood pancakes cooked on iron pans. In Finland, blood went straight into sausage fillings. In Denmark, fresh pork blood, rye, sugar, raisins, and spices formed blood sausage eaten around Christmas. In Britain and Ireland, high-grain blood pudding became flexible, friable, boilable, even cold-cut friendly. In Iceland, lamb blood was tied into stomach casings, stitched by hand, and gently cooked. This wasn't about taste chasing, it was storage science. For people facing long winters and long voyages, food that spoiled fast was a threat. That logic shaped everything else they ate. Early Viking flavor was simple: sweet, sour, salty. That's it. Sweet came from dried apples or berry preserves. Not desserts, side flavors, often eaten with barley or oat porridge. For most people, porridge was the meal. Grains boiled into thick mash. Leftovers fried into pancakes. That covered most calories. Wealth changed texture, not the base. Butter, honey, hazelnuts, dried fruits could be added. Sometimes dried plums on top. Still porridge, just heavier, richer, more winterproof. Sour mainly came from fermented rye bread. Same grains as porridge, but with extra processing. That made it higher status by default. Early Viking bread wasn't neat loaves, more likely flat cakes cooked on pans or stones. Dense, slightly sour, perfect next to oily or salted food. A structure food, not a showcase. Salt mattered just as much. Vikings learned salt preservation early. Trade made salt expensive, but not unreachable. That gave rise to heavily salted butter. Not subtle, extremely salty, designed to last through winter. So valuable it was sometimes treated like currency. And when you have that kind of butter, you need something to match it. That's where pea and onion soup comes in. Found repeatedly in Viking archaeology. Peas stored well, onions survived cold, butter carried calories. One pot, one fire, dry food on the side. That was a travel meal. And in parts of Sweden, pea and onion soup with pork is still a weekly tradition today. But if you had to choose one essential food, it wasn't bread or butter, it was fish. Fish was protein, it was travel food, it was trade. At the Viking trade center of Hedeby, archaeology suggests around 26 fish species were eaten, but 3 mattered most: herring, cod, and other white fish. Herring stood out first, oily enough to preserve, small enough to process fast, perfect for smoking, salting, and drying. Because herring regains fat seasonally, it allowed mass harvesting at the right time. For Viking society, it was almost like grain from the sea. Norse myths even hinted this. There are stories where Thor eats herring with oat porridge before travel. Not proof, but a reflection of everyday logic. Centuries later, herring took a strange turn. Fermented herring, first recorded in the 16th century, often described today as unbearable. Its origin was practical. Salt shortages forced producers to use less salt. The fish fermented instead of fully preserving. Not rotten, just pushed to the edge. That edge became the flavor. Still eaten today, especially in northern Sweden, using Baltic herring harvested in spring, lightly salted, then fermented in sealed containers. Cod played a different role. Along the cold, windy Norwegian coast, fish could be air-dried on wooden racks. No salt needed. Historical records suggest dried cod could last for years. Some sources claim up to a decade. That made it perfect for storage, travel, and trade. And it never left the table. In modern Nordic cooking, dried cod becomes stew bases. In Norway, cod stewed with tomatoes and olives shows southern influence. In Sweden, boiled cod with egg sauce stayed simple. Elsewhere, cod mashed with potatoes and white sauce became everyday food. When Vikings chose fish, the rules were simple. Can we catch it? Can we store it? Can we carry it? Can we trade it? That mindset never disappeared. Here's the answer to the big question. Nordic food isn't strange because Vikings were extreme. It's precise because survival forced clarity. Blood wasn't dark, it was efficient. Fermentation wasn't daring, it was controlled. Salt wasn't seasoning, it was insurance. That's the aha moment. Modern Nordic cuisine isn't a rebellion against the past, it's a refinement of it. This channel exists to trace food back to the logic that shaped it, not trends, not myths, decisions. And next time, here's the question. How did this survival cuisine eventually turn into fine dining, and who decided it was elegant?